Hello there YouTube, Polar Bear 084 here, back with another episode of A Bear's Guide to Hunting. And today we take on the bride of our previous villain, the Gold Rathian. And much like Silver Rathalos, which if you haven't seen, I'll link it in the top right, this is going to be a very difficult, high-powered fight, with a lot of running around. Although, unlike Rathalos, Rathian will at least remain on the ground for most of the fight, which does make this more of a one-on-one duel than it does a waiting game, which is quite nice. But, because of how much damage Gold Rathian can do, you are going to want to make sure that your prediction skills are on point, and that you know all of the tells for each of her attacks, because if one of them clips you, that can do easily 100 health. Which is why you may notice I have 150 health and 150 stamina, you can see here. And the best way to get that, I mentioned this before, but the best way to get that is to go to the feline kitchen with 5 cats, 5 chefs. If you haven't done that yet, get 5, because the the abilities they can provide you are improved with 5 of them, as opposed to say 4 or 3. So get 5 and then order the Kirin cheese and golden fish brew, and that will give you 50 extra stamina and 50 extra health at the start of the quest, which is very nice, because the only other way to get 150 health that I know of is by eating a lot of nutrients, eating a few less mega nutrients, or by using what I have here, a max potion or an ancient potion. Max potion heals your health to full and increases your health cap to 150. So no matter what your health is at, it will be 150 when you're done. And the Ancient Potion does that to your health and stamina at the same time. So eating in the feline kitchen is has the same benefit as an Ancient Potion, which I think is pretty good. But what I didn't mention in the Silver Rathalos video is that this is most likely the first time you will have seen the tower. And the tower is quite a cool area, because most of the time you actually don't end up doing much else in areas 1 through 9, and the fight is located in area 10. And when you enter area 10, there is a boulder that prevents you from leaving, so it's very much a kind of a deathmatch situation. But it's kind of a cool location. There's some good gathering points here. Area 3 is a fantastic place to get thunderbugs and thunderbug juices. You can just take a net in there and kill the thunderbugs. But this is the Rathian. You may notice that we're using our Hermitaur U armor with our defense and turtle jewels, and the True Devil Slicer, which is a very strong Kizu based longsword. And the main reason we're using the True Devil Slicer is the thunder element. As you know, Rathalos and Rathian are weak to lightning, and that is true for these particular variants as well. And also the blue sharpness. The blue sharpness is very useful. Without it, you will end up bouncing. Even green sharpness is not enough to prevent from bouncing against these particular creatures. But you're going to notice that the fight with Rathian is going to progress largely the same when she is not enraged. She's about the same speed as she is in both of her other variants when she's not enraged. You saw there, I just bounced off the leg, even with blue sharpness. Or bounced off the claw, I suppose, is more accurate. But yeah, you'll notice that her moveset is very much the same as a normal Rathian would be. But the difficulty comes in when she is enraged, because she becomes about as fast as Silver Rathalos. And if you didn't see that, he was incredibly fast. I said he was like the T-Rex scene from Jurassic Park on Fast Forward. And it really is true. And Rathian's going to do pretty much the same thing here. But so that's what you want to be careful of. At least one thing you don't have to worry about compared to Rathalos is that she doesn't do the fireball when she swings backwards like that, which does mean that you are largely safe a lot of the time, which is quite nice. The worst things you need to worry about are that tail swing or tail swipe of hers, the tail swing where she does the 360 in the air and can poison you with her tail when she hits you there, and the charge. The fireballs most likely aren't ever going to hit you. If they do, then they can do quite a lot of damage, but she'll only do one straight ahead, or she'll do one in like it's basically, I'd say, a 25-degree cone in front of her. So it'll be one just to the left of her head, one just to the right of her head, and then one straight ahead. So They're very, very rarely going to hit you. In fact, it's a great opportunity to attack the face if you haven't done that much. This is going to be a... oh no, this was just a fireball. When you see her kind of readjusting her feet like she was there, it could mean she's going to charge, or it could mean she's just going to do a fireball. It's hard to tell. What it does mean is probably get away from the head. Alright, she is now enraged, and we are in front of her. This is not where we want to be. Well, we're no longer in front of her, so that's good. One nice thing about Gold Rathian compared to Silver Rathalos is she does taunt quite a bit, which is very nice. It gives you a lot of opportunities to get some extra damage in. You can see how fast the fireballs are coming in now, though. They are a lot quicker. But you see another taunt, which is quite handy. We got a stagger in there. That was good. That does mean she's targeting me now. When she's enraged, she will do 2 tail swipes pretty much every time she does a tail swipe. Pretty much, not every time. She will occasionally do a second tail swipe when she is not enraged as well, so just be careful of that. Don't immediately rush in to get some damage in, because she could do a follow-up swing, and that would be quite devastating. If you do find yourself caught between her legs when she is doing the tail swing, then just make sure to roll to the left or right, just like I did there. It has a very narrow hitbox, because the tail itself is not extremely wide. So you're very rarely going to get hit by that as long as you make sure to pay attention to the tell and roll appropriately. But like I said, the charge is what is going to end up doing the most damage to you for this fight. It looks like she's already unenraged. Yeah. That was cheeky. She's doing a lot of those little like half charges where she will move an inch like that, and it does the same amount of damage as a regular charge. Alright, I'm going to see if I can get a little damage in, get our spirit gauge back up full as well. We got another stagger, that's good. That's what we want to see. I'm going to roll through here. I do want to cut the tail off because it at least makes it harder for her to hit us with the tail swing. She will, with the tail swipe, she will, and the tail swing actually. Again, just for clarity, the tail swing is this, where she does a backflip. The tail swing is when she, tail swipe is when she does a 360 on the ground. Sorry, it's confusing terminology, I know. Sometimes I don't even get it right. I mean, I guess you've got the backflip and you've got the tail swipe, basically. Alright, we got a 3 fireball here. Would love to hit this tail a few more times. It's most likely close to falling off, but as you can see, I took a lot of damage without really noticing it. That's one of the main kind of sneaky damages that Rathian can do to you, in pretty much any form, is that she can kind of treadmill a bit, or she can like swipe her claw a little bit, and put in a lot of damage when you aren't noticing, when your character isn't reacting, and before you know it, you're one hit away from death. So keep your eye on the health bar, much like you do when you're fighting Plesioth and Cephalos and any of those other creatures that can treadmill you a bit, put some damage in without your character reacting. You definitely just want to pay attention to the health bar and make sure it doesn't go below half, I would say. Because that, I would say, is... there we go. I was in exactly the wrong place. If you stand just to the left or right of her teeth, when she's doing the fireballs, it will hit you. But yeah, just I would say 75 health is definitely the death zone. I'd say that most of her attacks, especially when enraged, can easily do 75-80 damage. So make sure you've got more than half health, and you should be fine. Of course, you can very easily get strung into 2 different attacks. You know, one tail swipe into a charge, perhaps. It can happen, and there's nothing you can really do about that. But that's why we've bought the max potions and the ancient potions, to prepare for the worst. This gonna hurt? Yes, it did. Actually, not that bad. Interestingly, for an attack that has such a small hitbox and is very unlikely to hit you, the bite really does not do that much damage. It's the charge, mainly, that does the most damage. It is quite devastating, especially when enraged. The tail swipe obviously does a lot as well, and poisons you, which can be something that's annoying to deal with. Rathian doesn't exactly give you a lot of time to deal with that in a follow-up. We are enraged, and once again we find ourselves in front of Rathian, which is not where we want to be. And that is why. Okay, I don't know what happened there, but we're fine, somehow. Alright, we're going to take a Mega Potion. We're not going to mess around with First Aid Meds. That's a good way to get caught unawares. I would love for this tail to no longer exist. Or no longer be attached, I suppose is the right way to put it. So one way that you can kind of keep Rathian turning around on the spot is by rolling from... Oh, that clips me? That's surprising. Is by rolling from one side of her to the other. Well, now you know how much damage that can do. It's a lot. It's a lot of damage. We were very close to full health. And now we are not. So I'm actually not going to heal the poison. I'm just going to heal the damage. I mean, if she gives me an opportunity, I might heal the poison. But poison wears off on its own fairly quickly. In fact, it's already gone. So don't feel like you have to rush to heal poison. I know it's quite a terrifying thing to just see your health ticking down like that regularly. That was cheeky. It's a terrifying thing to see your health like ticking down second by second. But it does go fairly quickly, and you can heal through it. This isn't Dark Souls. It's a lot easier to heal through than some certain games. We want to make sure we don't get hit by that. I would love for this tail to no longer be attached. It would make my day. One thing you also want to be aware of as well is when she does the tail swipe, she doesn't do it in a straight line from where she's facing. There we go. She kind of turns to the side. So just because you're to the left or right of her doesn't mean you're necessarily out of reach. Because of how much she can turn when doing the attack. I wish I'd avoided that. Because of how much she can turn when she's actually doing the attack, she can reach you. So be careful of that as well. There's a lot of little like techniques to Rathian, more so than Rathalos, I would say. Rathalos is largely just you wait for him to move, and then you either wait underneath him or you wait behind him. But Rathian has quite a few little sneaky methods to get you when you least expect it. So keep your eyes open for those, and you should be fine. Primarily being able to tail swipe twice, being able to tail swipe to the left or right, and also just don't be too close to the face when she is doing fireballs. And that should really suit you well. There isn't much else you need to worry about. The charge, though, especially when enraged, is very, very difficult to dodge. You may have noticed that I've been kind of leap of faithing a lot of the charges when enraged, and that's mainly because she can home so well because of how fast she moves when she's enraged that you really can't avoid as you can her earlier variants. Unfortunately, you really just have to do a leap of faith. It does take up a lot of time. It does leave you open to an attack a little bit, but I mean, being open to an attack is better than being hit by one. So you want to make sure. Well, we got clipped by the tail during the bite. That was what happens, and that can happen when a lot of monsters in this game, when they bite, they flick their tail, and that can catch you if you're behind them. So I haven't necessarily ever mentioned that out loud, I don't think, but I think if you've gotten this far, you've probably inherently noticed that already. So, all right, I was just behind the head, so thankfully that didn't hit me. Would love to get a chance to sharpen. That would be nice. That clipped me when I would say a good length width away from Rathian, and that's just something you have to keep in mind. It is very, very, very difficult to actually dodge these by running and rolling, like I showed before in a couple of videos. You really have to do a leap of faith. The speed and honestly the size of these creatures just means that it is very, very difficult to pull that off consistently. You can do it. It's not impossible, but you can't do it every single time, and that means that you're going to take a lot more damage than you would just by running and jumping. It is not necessarily worth it, in my opinion. Alright, so one thing you can do to kind of keep Rathian guessing is you can keep rolling in front of her feet, So you're on the left side of her. Oh, she landed on me. So you're on the left side of her, and then you roll to the right side. It can kind of meddle up her tracking and her targeting. It's best not to try to do it when she's enraged, although it is a good way to dodge. We've got a tail swing, we've got a backflip. So she can land on you, she does land pretty heavily. Again, you can still just roll to the left or right if you're close to her, and it shouldn't hit you. Unless you get very unlucky, which I did earlier. There is a certain element of luck to these fights, unfortunately. You know, if you get some bad RNG and they just keep charging, and, you know, charge into a wall a lot, then, you know, that's gonna hurt. If she had a tail, if I hadn't cut the tail off, that would have hit me. That's the benefit of going for the tail and making sure that's off. It's the same with all Rathians. You want to make sure that the tail's gone. It makes a lot of their attacks weaker, considerably weaker. Alright. A 3 fireball, when she's not enraged, is the perfect time to do this combo, the Spirit Gauge combo. It gives you the exact amount of time you need. And normally she'll fall over from it, which means you can get to refill the gauge. And look, another 3. It's the little shake of the head she does afterwards that buys you most of the time. And you saw how much she turned there, right? She basically turned 90 degrees just from doing a backflip. And I got clipped by the tail again. We're going to roll, just to avoid that. Get our gauge up, let's unleash another barrage. And then, I think we do need to sharpen. Well, I do want the gauge full if I can get it full. We are underneath her, that is exactly where you don't want to be. Thankfully, we got staggered by her standing on us, which means we didn't get hit by the charge. But you saw how much she was able to hone there. This is definitely not a game you can continue forever. I mean, you saw how low my stamina gauge was. Alright, so we're not going to get a full spirit gauge off here because she's enraged, which means she does not stay on the ground as long. She gets through that, you know, fallen over animation a lot quicker. And the same with the fireball animation. There's a similar problem to what you have with Silver Rathalos. There just aren't as many openings to attack or heal, or sharpen even. That taunt might have been good enough. Also, you may notice that the 3 fireballs are arched down into the ground like that, whereas when she shoots a single fireball, I believe it just flies in a straight line, much like Rathalos's. This is gonna hurt. Yes, yeah, it did. That hurt. It was worth it though. We did need to increase our sharpness. I say, I didn't die. It was worth it. And those are the kind of risks you have to take, and this is the kind of RNG you have to worry about. Like if my sword had gotten to yellow sharpness before it got enraged and it didn't keep falling over, like I had to capitalize on the damage I could put in, I would have been able to sharpen relatively easily. Like the same way that the 3 fireballs are a good chance to do a spirit gauge combo, they're also your best chance to heal, sharpen, get your stamina up, that kind of thing, when she's not enraged. When she is enraged, there just isn't much time to do much of anything. You can pop a potion, or that's about it. Or if you bought armor pills or power pills, it's a good time for those too, if you're intending on going on the offensive or potentially need more defense, which, you know, isn't a bad idea, considering. That was a charge. I got greedy because I wanted to fill the spirit gauge up, but I shouldn't have. I mean, you saw how much damage that did, even when she isn't enraged. She can pile out a lot of damage, especially if you get greedy, because you're trying to showcase certain elements of the game. Really, the way you want to play this is slow and controlled. You want to look for openings, like, you know, the fireballs is a great one. Also, while it may not look like it, the backflip is another good opening, because you can dodge out of the way fairly quickly and then just attack her from the side. It's actually a good chance to get some damage in there. But really, those are the only 2. The tail swipe you can get some damage in if you're lucky. It's very easy for her to hit you with it though. Right, we shouldn't be chargeable here. Alright, another stagger, that's good. And again, I've said this a few times, but I got clipped by the toe, I think. I've said this a few times, but just because an animal staggers a lot does not mean that they are close to death. I had that misconception for a long time, and it's not true. Really, your best... I mean, if they stagger quite frequently over and over and over again, over the course of, say, 5-10 minutes, then yes, they are close to death. But really, your best indicator is if they are limping, if the fight's gone on for, say, 45 minutes or 35 minutes, that's a very good indicator that they might be close to death. But really, your best one is if it was whether they are limping or not. That's the telltale sign. And Rathalos and Rathian do limp. But because, especially these variants, they don't limp as often. So you may or may not see it. I was trying to capture a silver Rathalos the other day, trying to get a Rathalos ruby, which it refuses to provide. But I was trying to get that the other day, and I thought it was maybe close to death, and I hit it once, and it died. So I wasn't able to capture it. And that's just, you know, it's very tricky to find out in these earlier games. I'm going to take the time to heal. I feel like that's a good idea. See if we can get the spirit gauge a little more full. Let's not get greedy though. Roll past her. Can't see a thing. Try not to get meshed into a corner. You can see how nasty it is to look at. I mean, you know, it's not good to look at on YouTube, and it's certainly not good to try to play through either, because you don't know where you are, she is, or what she's doing. Alright, I wasn't going to roll, but and I did, but she got knocked over, so let's capitalize on that a little bit. Yeah, that's one thing to be aware of. I got lucky. Once she gets up, she can just backflip instantly. It doesn't happen very often, not that I've noticed anyway, but it is devastating if it hits you, so beware of that. Always try to hit her at the stomach area, or maybe at the head, so you can roll out of the way fairly easily, if she does. But yeah, definitely something to be careful of. Alright, now that she's not enraged anymore, let's go ahead and pass some damage in. Got clipped by that claw again. Alright. And this is like I said this in the Silver Rathalos video, I'm going to say it again here. It is very tricky to just avoid damage in this fight, purely because some of it is down to luck. You know, sometimes the claw will just clip you, and sometimes you won't get hit at all. I feel like there have been plenty of times in this game where I feel like I should have been hit and I didn't get hit, and there have been plenty of times where I feel like I should not have been hit at all and I got hit very hard. So, you know, it's, you know, the game giveth and the game taketh, I like to think. And I think that's very much the case. Alright, do we have time to sharpen? I reckon we do, depending on who she targets. She's targeting the cat, perfect. And I could tell she was targeting the cat because she was turning to the left. If she was trying to target me, she would have just turned to the right. It was a shorter distance to get the targeting done. And there's something else to be aware of too. I did mention this in the Silver Rathalos video, but Rathian can charge and then not, you know, normally when these creatures charge, they kind of charge until they fall over. But both Rathalos and Rathian, Silver Rathalos and Gold Rathian, can charge and then just stop dead and turn around and do a second attack. If that's what they normally do, they charge and then like collapse to the ground. But they can charge, stop dead, turn around and shoot a fireball, for example. So just because they've charged past you doesn't mean that you are free to, say, sharpen or heal. You want to be careful of that. Well, let's see what we've got going here. Targeting the cat. Another charge. But you notice that Rathian is a lot easier to keep up with than say, Rathalos. Just purely because Rathian doesn't fly as much. Rathian stays very much on the ground. I believe I said this during the Pink Rathian video. I'll link that in the top right if you want to see that. But I believe I said that it's more of a duel. You know, it's more one-on-one. It's, you know, you're both on the ground, planted to the ground for the most part. And, you know, you attack, she attacks. And I think it's more fair. That's what I like to think. Alright, I'm not going to be able to get off. I rolled at the exact wrong time. I was going to say, I'm not going to be able to get off a spirit gauge combo there, so I'm just going to get in some hits. You don't always have to maximize damage, you just have to make sure that you're doing damage. I think you can get a little carried away with, trying to get, the best time or whatever. But really, you just want to make sure that they can die and die consistently. Alright, I got knocked over by the foot, which means I didn't get hit by the roar. Ah, there, she's limping. You see, it was for half a second, but she was limping. See, the problem is that Rathalos and Rathian get everywhere by charging, which is an attack. And animals only limp if they are not attacking. So that's why it's so hard to see them limp, because by all accounts, she looks very healthy. Because she's charging everywhere, which is actually capturable. And you can capture these. Oh, that was nasty. You can capture these creatures. It's gonna hurt. We're fine. I thought I was gonna have to use a mega potion then. Saw my life flash before my eyes. Alright. When you see when they're charging and you kind of hear them roar a little bit or squeal, and you see their steps get a little more unsteady, it means they're gonna fall over. They also raise their wings up a bit more. And you can just kind of get a feel for when they're going to fall over, and then you can take that time and pop a potion. I think we got a little limp there. Take that time to pop a potion. If you're feeling lucky, you could also use a Whetstone or a mini Whetstone, but I don't necessarily think that there's enough time. I will say that's the main danger of not having a sharp enough sword, is that you can bounce, which is a very, very slow animation, which leaves you open typically right in front of the creature is how it always works out for me, for, I would say, a full second, maybe even longer. And that is very much not where you want to be. That's why keeping your weapon sharp is incredibly important. And yeah, you can see how much quicker this was than Rathalos. Rathalos was, I think, it wasn't 45 minutes. I think it was 40 minutes. Gold Rathian, 35. It's faster. There's less waiting around. You don't have to, worry about waiting for him to go up and fireball and then claw and come back down. It's much more, fair, honestly. I mean, we don't get to fly, not in this game anyway. That happens in later games. But we don't get to fly through the air, so we just have to wait. But yeah, that's Gold Rathian. I hope this helps you. I hope you found some of the tips in here handy. It is largely similar to pink and green Rathian, but I think it's handy to see how to handle the increased speed and damage and that comes with these harder fights. And they're going to keep getting harder. The next weeks we have a Cantor, which is a true roadblock if ever I saw one. But yeah, if this helps you, go ahead and like the video so that more people who can see it, who may be struggling with Rathian themselves, maybe they can get some tips out of this. If you have any feedback, let me know. If there's something I'm doing wrong, if there's something I could do better, by all means, I am always happy to improve. And yeah, if you aren't subscribed, get subscribed, because like I said, next video is going to be a Cantor. It's going to be huge, it's going to be difficult, and I think it's one that a lot of hunters struggle with. So if you're struggling with it too, subscribe so you see when it comes out. But yeah, that's going to do it. I hope this helps you, and happy hunting.